Hey guys, so today we're going to be having an episode based off of the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin. This is kind of a somber podcast, but I just wanted to give respect to the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, who recently died on the 16th of August of this month being August. From pancreatic cancer. But I really just want to talk about her legacy for this episode. It's going to be really short. I just want to go through some of her accolades and achievements, just to give her the respect she deserves. So for my daily wavelengths, if you guys have been paying attention to my post on IGTV, you guys will have heard from of some of these artists. So the first artist I've found, and this is one is based off of the Spotify podcast. I mean, not Spotify playlist, where it generates music that they think that you will like based off of your listening history. So there's an artist named Brandon Banks. This song is called Autumn. It's very like Sade. What other song can I compare? What other artist can I compare it to? He has some Frank Ocean vibes to him as well. It's very moody. It's very like atmospheric. And very spacious, like the sound of the song. It's very lyric driven as well, so I really appreciate the song. So check him out if you guys get a chance. I really think it's a great song. And it seems like, from what I'm looking on Spotify, this is his first single that he's ever released. So to me, that's a great start. The second artist, which is a duo, called Louis York, has released a single called No Regrets. Now Louis York, I know the two people that comprise the group Louis York separately. It's Chuck Harmony, and then excuse me, having some congestion, which is disgusting. As I was saying, Claude Kelly and Chuck Harmony are the duo that created the group Louis York, and they're Grammy nominated. They've been working with people like Fantasia, even Whitney Houston, most of your favorite artists. They've probably either written a song for them or have arranged or produced a track for them. So I've known them separately, but seeing that they're now together creating their own music, I really appreciate this new single. It's very funkadelic. It's very like neo soul. It's a blend of all these different genres of music that they grew up with. If you guys want to check out like some more information about them, what I love about Spotify is that they have like a bio section, just like Apple Music, but I feel like it's more in depth since they have like tour dates and stuff like that up there, so you guys can know exactly what's going on. But check them out on Spotify, and also check Brandon Banks out. I'm not sure if his social media is on the bio page, but check him out and see when he's touring or having any music releasing. I'll give you some updates because I'm going to try and see if Brandon Banks has like any unreleased stuff on like SoundCloud or anything. So if I have a chance, I'll probably post that on Instagram on the Millennial Tones podcast page. So stay tuned for that. Some throwbacks I've been listening to is Trippin' by Total, but pretty much the whole album, which is the second and last album, which is Keisha, Kima, and Pam. So if you guys are Total fans and like 90s R&B fans, I think you guys will appreciate that if you guys are fans of their music. So I've also been listening to the Ozzy Brothers' "Voyage to Atlantis." That's probably like my top three favorite songs by one of my top three songs by the Ozzy Brothers is that Between the Sheets. What was the third one? I always get the third one mixed up with a different song. Because I always get the third one I think of is always the one with Ron Isley, so it doesn't count as the Isley Brothers song. I can't think of that at the moment, but yeah, that's one of my favorite songs by them. And then of course Prince, "I Would Die for You," which is off of the Purple Rain movie album, slash soundtrack. So that's probably my favorite song off of that. One of them anyway. But that's what I've been listening to over the past 2 weeks. But let's get into some of this information about Aretha Franklin that I wanted to get into. Like I said, this is going to be a shorter podcast than usual because I just really want to pay respect and give Aretha some respect for what she's put into the music industry. So hold on, let me open this. 1 second. Okay. Okay, so this first article that I'm looking at is on Billboard.com, and this is talking about Aretha Franklin's top 20 biggest Billboard Hot 100 hits. So I'm just going to talk about certain things on this article. So it says, Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin leaves behind an unparalleled legacy on Billboard's charts. The iconic diva died at her home in Detroit on Thursday, August 16th, at age 76, which was yesterday. I'm recording this on Friday. And it talks about how Franklin first appeared on Billboard charts at just 18 years old with "Today I Sing the Blues," which debuted on the Hot R&B. Does I say sides? Yes, Hot R&B sides. Now, Hot R&B Hip Hop Songs chart dated October 24th, 1960. The song paved the way for her Hot 100 debut 4 months later with "Won't Be Long" with the Ray Bryant combo on February 27th, 1961. They even have like a picture of it actually showing the Billboard Music Week when it was still like a magazine and like a little paper pamphlet. So they have a picture of that if you guys want to check this out. At this article, you guys can find this on Billboard, as I said before. And then it was saying Franklin last sent a new song on the Hot 100 with "Here We Go Again," which reached number 76 in 1998. The track was released for her 37th studio album, "A Rose Is Still a Rose." During her lifetime, Franklin charted 46 albums on the Billboard 200, with 6 reaching the top 10. "I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You," number 2. 1967, "Aretha Arrives," number 5. 1967, "Aretha Lady Soul," number 2. 1968, "Aretha Now," number 3. 1968, "Aretha Lives at Fillmore West," number 7. 1961, and "Amazing Grace" with James Cleveland, number 7. 1972. And okay, so hold on 1 second. Franklin debuted her last Billboard 200 entry in November 2014 with "Sings the Great Diva the Classics," which hit number 13, her highest rank in 29 years. More recently, "A Brand New Me" with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra hit number 5 on classical albums in December 2017, marking Franklin's first visit to the survey as she continued to break new ground 57 years after her first Billboard chart appearance. So it's just going through some of the songs that she's done and even some of the duets that she's done over the years. So at number 1, the rank, so it goes by, here it lists this as from starting with the rank, title, Hot 100 peak position, and then the peak date. And this is the top 20 biggest Billboard Hot 100 hits by Aretha. So number 1 is the duet between her and George Michael, which is I Knew You Were Waiting for Me, again featuring George Michael, which was number 1 for 2 weeks. And this, and that peak date was on April 18th, 1987. The second is, of course, Respect, which was number 1 for 2 weeks, which was on June 3rd, 1967, which was that peak. Number 3, Until You Come Back to Me, that's what I'm gonna do. Number 3, and the peak date was February 23rd, 1974. Number 4 is Freeway of Love. Number 3, peak date August 31st, 1985. Number 5 is Chain of Fools, which was number 2 on the Billboard charts. On the Hot 100 peak position. And then the peak date was January 20th, 1968. Chain of Fools is one of my favorite songs by her as well. I'm going to just go down to the 10th number. You guys can also just find this. I'm letting you guys get a chance online. But number 6 was Sweet Sweet Baby Since You've Been Gone. Number 5, peak date, which was March 30th, 1968. Spanish Harlem is number 7. Number 2, and that is... the peak date for that was September 11th, 1971. Bridge Over Troubled Water / Brand New Me is number 6. Peak date June 5th, 1971. Number 9 is Baby I Love You. Number 4. Peak date is September 9th, 1967. And number 10, Who's Zoomin' Who? Is number 7, and the peak date was November 30th, 1985. So, again, I'm going to try and make sure I link all this stuff in the description box so you guys can check these out more easily. But I'm going to go on to some more stuff about Aretha. When it comes to her record-setting achievements on Billboard's R&B charts. So, as I recently was talking about, the Queen of Soul scored 20 number ones on Hot R&B hip hop songs and 10 leaders on top R&B and hip hop albums. So, Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul, proved to be the queen of Billboard's R&B charts too. As previously reported, the icon died at home in Detroit on August 16th at the age of 76. Franklin first appeared on the R&B sides now on October 24th, as I previously stated in the last article. When Today I Sing the Blues, which started at number 22. 2 months after that, the song peaked at number 10, marking her first of an astonishing 52 top 10s on the chart. The sum stands as the most among women and third overall behind Drake's 68 and James Brown's 57. So, just her being based off her being a female in this is such a huge accomplishment, and nobody has been able. I don't believe anybody has surpassed her, and I think the only person to pass her with singles probably would be Nicki Minaj. But then, let me just check. Then, of Franklin's 52 top 10s, 20 ascended all the way to number 1, tying her with Stevie Wonder for the most chart toppers of any act in the Hot R&B Hip Hop Songs chart history, which dates to October 1958 as an all-encompassing survey for the genre. Collectively, her 20 leaders spent a combined 65 weeks in the top slot, yet another record among women. So, again, another record. The Queen also leads all women for most career weeks in Hot R&B Hip Hop Songs Top 10, 333, and most appearances on the chart overall, 96, with 4 credited as double-sided singles, making for an even 100 charted singles. Franklin earned her last top 10 in 1998 as a Rose, still as a Rose, number 5, while her last entry in her lifetime is a 2014 cover of Adele's Rolling in Deep, which reached number 47. I'm going down. On top R&B hip-hop albums, Franklin 2 was a force. She appeared on the very first ranking, then named Hot R&B LPs and dated January 30th, 1965, with Running Out of Fools at number 9. Fools kick-started a run of 32 top 10 successes and 46 total charted albums on the list, both record tallies among female acts. While Fools introduced her to the chart, her 4th charted album, I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You, made her a legend. The 1967 set, armed with the enduring classics and R&B chart toppers Respect and the title track, became the first album by any solo female artist to be top the list and reigned for 14 weeks. She quickly followed Man with another number 1 album in 1967. Aretha Arise in the following year became the first woman to replace herself at number 1 on top R&B hip hop albums. Her Lady Soul ruled for 16 non-consecutive weeks before ceding the summit to Aretha Now, which dominated for 17 frames. With Man, Lady, and Now, Franklin is the only female artist with 3 albums that have reigned for at least 16 weeks each on top R&B hip hop albums. So again, nobody has surpassed her still in that category. In total, Franklin landed 10 number one albums on top R&B hip hop albums, to some equaled only by Mary J. Blige for the most among women in the chart's history. Thanks for her monumental success on the flagship R&B hip hop rankings, the Queen of Soul, unsurprisingly, was crowned Billboard's top female hip hop R&B hip hop act of all time in February 2007, and a second overall only to The Temptations. So that's such a great, she's done so much in music, and just her recording so many albums. She's in double digits when it comes to albums, and it's not like 10 albums is the amount that she's done. It's like in the 40s and upper 40s, which is a big accomplishment for her. So let me get to my next article. This article is coming from a UK publication called The Independent. So give me 1 second as this loads up. Okay, while this loads up, I'm going to talk about some of the artists that personally I've known about for forever long. Aretha's been in the game for so long, so she's influenced a lot of the artists that I love, namely Whitney Houston. Then you have, especially a female artist, you have Whitney Houston, you have Mary J. Blige, you have Patty, You have Mariah Carey, you have Celine Dion, you have Beyonce, uh, you have Brandy, Tamia, like namely a lot of the great voices in R&B, uh, just R&B, just music period, have been influenced uh, by Aretha. And Mariah in some interviews has even said, and a lot of artists have said that even if you weren't directly influenced by Aretha Franklin, you were influenced by her just based off of the artists that you listen to, especially if you listen to herself and many artists like that. So her legacy will always continue on, which I really appreciate. One thing about music that I always love is even when, unfortunately, the artist dies, their music stays. And if they're an artist where their music is timeless, it will never get old, and it will never lose the amount of respect and pedigree that it has. And Aretha is the Queen of Soul, so that title will never be taken away from her. It can't. But now that this last article I'm going to talk about and read from is again from the Independent, and this is a UK publication, if I remember correctly. Hold on, let me make sure. Yes, it is a UK publication. So it's only one day old, and it reads: Aretha Franklin, Queen of Soul, who won 18 Grammys, sold 75 million records, and drew a tear from Obama. The subtitle below the main title it reads: regarded by many as the greatest singer of all time, Aretha Franklin bestrode 1960s and 70s R&B and sang at 3 presidents' inaugurations, which is a big thing as well. It was the moment a queen reduced the president to tears half a century after she gifted her sumptuous signature songs to the world. Aretha Franklin summoned all the vocal majesty that earned her the title of the Queen of Soul when she sang to President Obama in 2015. And if you guys watched the Kennedy Honors Gala, this is what they're alluding to. And this was the 30th annual Kennedy Center's Honors Gala, where she strode on the stage wearing a full-length fur coat and holding a clutch purse. She sat at the piano and began to accompany herself on "You Make Me Feel Like a Natural Woman," and Carole King was actually there with her up in the stage. She was actually honoring her for creating the song, and since she co-wrote the song with Aretha, and this is where Obama wiped a tear from his eyes, and it was emotional delivery. And it continues on talking about the performance. Before long, Franklin rose from the piano. She allowed defer a Christmas present to herself 12 months earlier to slip to the floor and strutted to center stage. A year later, interviewed by Vogue, she explained that she was thinking, "Let's get out of this coat, I'm feeling it, let's go." As she effortlessly hit the high notes, the president showed her his pleasure by fist pumping. Excuse me. In September of the same year, Franklin had serenaded Pope Francis with Amazing Grace in Philadelphia. She also sang the Nessun Dorma, having previously performed it at the 1998 Grammy Awards ceremony after Luciano Pavarotti, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, was indisposed by a sore throat. Franklin, who has died, as you guys know, at the age of 76, has been stealing hearts with her rich, luminous, pitch-perfect, soulful singing since she was a child. And getting on to some of this, the song "Respect" was originally sung by Otis Redding, so it talks about him in this paragraph saying, in 1967 she stole respect from the great Georgia soulman Otis Redding and made it arguably her greatest recording, although in case although a case could be made for, I say a little prayer, chain of fools, think natural woman and others. And it even has a quote where Otis is saying, "I just lost my song," howled Otis in mock indignation. "That girl took it away from me." The 25-year-old Franklin's magnificent interpretation was much more than an intriguing cover. It was an almighty appropriation, musical heist. From the moment the track was always identified with Franklin, not poor Otis. Franklin's performance on this funky slab of Southern soul epitomized her vocal prowess, radiating sassy confidence and gospel fire. She burned a sanctified path through the secular song, famously whooping respect, RESPECT. Find out what it means to me. One of the greatest recordings of the past 60 years. It became a million-selling song and was also embraced as an anthem of black liberation and female equality. Some perceived it as an appeal for racial tolerance. 1 second. As I scroll down. Hold on 1 second. Okay, and R&B and pop number one respect that detonated Aretha Franklin's career skywards. Over the next 7 years, she consistently hit the R&B and pop top 10, as I previously talked about in the last few articles that I was talking about. In fact, 17 songs leapt to the top of the U.S. R&B chart. Commenting on Franklin's dominance of the airwaves, the comedian and activist Dick Gregory noted, "You'd hear Aretha 3 or 4 times an hour. You'd only hear Martin Luther King on the news." She also won the first 8 Grammys presented for Best R&B Female Performance. The prize was soon dubbed the Aretha Franklin Award. Again, shattering barriers for females, just artists, period. The late 60s and early 70s were Franklin's artistic golden years. However, she also became an icon of the age, a symbol of African American womanhood, hence the accolade Queen of Soul, a title no one ever managed to wrest from her. Then it goes into some of her childhood, her growing up in a Baptist home with her mother being a celebrated gospel singer and her father being a reverend at Detroit's New Bethel Baptist Church, which held 4,500 people in it, and was packed every Sunday, and even talks about how her father's sermons were released by Chess Records on vinyl. And then it talks about some of the people that would frequent her home that were black musicians like Duke Ellington, Sam Cooke, Nat King Cole, as did gospel stars Mahalia Jackson and Clara Ward. And it talks about her relationship between Mahalia Jackson and Clara Ward after her mother passed away, how they were like maternal support for her. And talks about her ties to Martin Luther King, between her father being confidant for Martin Luther King, and how Aretha was the person that sung Precious Lord at his funeral. So this is a great article to kind of get some more information about what Aretha has done throughout her career, other than just reading the Billboard charts and like seeing the charts. You guys can hear some of the stuff that she's done, just based off of her rise in her career. So I really appreciate this article. I'll try to remember to put this in the description box so you guys can check this out. But this again is on the independent.co.uk, so it should be this should be the first article that pops up when you search for it. But I'm gonna end it there. I just want to give you guys a quick podcast before I start packing for my trip to see my family down south. I'm gonna be down there for a couple of days, so I was kind of frazzled and kind of busy, so I didn't have a lot of time to get to talk to you guys this week. But thank you guys for listening, and I'll see you guys next week. Well, actually, no, the next 2 weeks. Alright, guys, thank you guys again for listening, and I'll see you guys later.